Hey everyone, it's Matt, aka Tech Ranger, and today we're going to be taking a look at the dynamic camera mod for Skyrim on the Xbox, and this does add FOV to your game, but there's also a little bit more to this mod than you might not realize. So when I see a mod like this, I feel like I should probably make a video on it just to show all the settings off, that way you know what you get before you actually download the mod. I'm going to divide the video up into the different things that you can do with this mod, so like FOV, and then the camera height, and then also the position, and we'll also look at that zoom setting and see what that is all about. That's enough housekeeping, let's go ahead and jump into the video and see what all is involved with this mod. I did want to mention a couple things before if you don't read the mod description, which you always should, but to activate the mod you will have a power after you install the mod that you will need to then activate. You select the power of stealth vision, and then once you activate that, which is usually RB unless you have it mapped someplace different, that will give you this pop-up that will show you all the different options. And then to activate each one after you pick an option, you're going to want to sheath and then unsheath your weapon. Now I did find with the FOV setting, it does work if you just press B afterwards, and then it will change the camera for you. Just something I noticed, but with the other things it does seem like just sheathing and unsheathing your weapon changes it for you. Last thing to go over would be to not use another camera mod with this mod, because you're probably going to run into some issues. If you have something that adds FOV but you just want this for like moving the camera, don't do it, just use this one. So now we can take a look at what this mod has to offer. So after you use the power and that list pops up, FOV is actually the last option, but I thought it was the most important option to look at first. What you see here is 100 FOV, but you can go as low as 50 FOV. In these examples I'm using the Mythical Ages weather mod and I have the fantasy setting on, so you might see a really shallow depth of field the lower I go in FOV. So from those examples, 50 is that really shallow look, it's very zoomed in, and then the 100 is actually just more of a fisheye look. I thought it might also be helpful if there's no characters in the frame at all, so I went to the college in Winterhold and recorded some footage to show you the difference of how it's zoomed in. It gets wider, and then you get that fisheye look. Also, something I found out, your FOV actually also determines how you view the map. So when you open the map with 100 FOV, obviously you can see as much as possible here, but then when you pop over to 50 FOV, your vision is a lot different when you open the map. You can't really see all that much, you're gonna have to be scrolling around a lot too. So as we say a lot here on the channel, something to keep in mind. So now we've seen how wide the camera can get, but how high can it get? Next up, let's look at your camera height, and this is actually the same over the course of the idle, melee, and range categories. So what you see here is pretty much what you're going to get for the rest of those. Now, unlike FOV, you're only going to see this in the third person view. It's not like your camera is going to move on you if you're in first person. For these examples, I set the FOV to 100 so you can see as much of the frame as possible when you're looking at the different heights. And you probably noticed this already, but very low actually does not go all the way to the ground, but this is my favorite one, and that's fine with me because it's low enough to where you get a really good look at your character in third person and you're not obstructed if you're actually in a fight or something like that. So now let's take a look at what you can do to actually move the camera from left to right. Now, the alignment settings are something that I think is going to be very important, considering that you have 3 different versions of this, whether you're idle, melee, or ranged. I used range for this example because I feel like that's going to be helpful for most people to see. Ranged and the precise aiming mod is very important if you end up using the dynamic camera, and I will have that link down below as well. But as you can see, going far left and left, it's not very helpful. And then when you're centered, you really can't see what's in front of you, especially if you have that camera height low. But maybe if you move it higher, it might be. Right is pretty familiar, as that is the default option for ranged in Skyrim. Far right is just going to push it a little bit more right. And this is where, again, the precise aiming mod is very important to have. Because as you can see, my crosshair moved because of my camera. Now, this last setting, the zoom setting, is probably the most confusing of the bunch, but hopefully this part will explain it a little bit better if you're downloading the mod and then wondering what exactly this does. So that first setting, whether it is minimum or maximum, if it's minimum, that basically gives you the least amount of control of how much you can pull that camera out. But as you can see here, I'm going to pick maximum and then very far. So this means I can actually zoom in pretty far, but then also actually zoom out pretty far as well, and especially with 100 FOV, it's going to look pretty wide. But then when you get up really close, I mean, you're going to be really close. On the opposite end of that, let's look at the minimum setting, and then let's pick close for our second option. This is where I feel like sometimes the camera will not work correctly when you're changing these settings. As the mod description says, sometimes the game will update and like mess around with the camera settings, because I was able to pull the camera back far and then zoom in close. But in these examples, I do have 100 FOV on, so that can also affect how far it looks like you're zooming in and out, but it might not in actuality be very far. I usually just end up using the maximum option and then the very far option. That way I can zoom the camera in as much as I want, but then pull the camera back all the way if I need to. Then I like to zoom in very far for those, 6 screenshots. So I hope seeing all these settings in action was very helpful for you. It was for me, just learning the mod and knowing what I can and can't do with it. I thought the amount of features that are packed into this thing, considering we don't have the Skyrim script extender on console, is pretty wide. No pun intended, because of FOV and all that. But there's a lot of different settings that you can use and really customize the camera for your game. And I haven't really noticed any performance impact either, which is also good. So let me know what your experience with this mod is down in the comments down below, and let me know what kind of settings that you pick. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody that watched the video, whether you're subscribed or not. But if you want to subscribe for more videos like these and some other fun Xbox videos, as well as Fallout 4 mod videos, feel free to subscribe. But that's it for me. Have a great one, everybody, and I will see you in the next video and or stream.